Hi guys, Mrs. Homan here with another science video. Today we are talking about ecological relationships. Every organism lives with and affects other organisms. So today we're going to be talking about 3 different types of ecological relationships: symbiotic, predator-prey, and competition. So let's get into it. First, symbiosis. Symbiosis is a close, long-term relationship between different species in a community. Remember from the levels of organization video, a community is all the living things or biotic factors that live and interact in an area. Organisms can benefit from, be unaffected by, or be harmed by the relationship they have with another organism. And there are 3 specific types of symbiotic relationships. The first one we're going to be talking about is mutualism. So, mutualism is when both species benefit. An example of this would be bees and flowers. The bees benefit by getting nectar to make honey from the flower, and the flowers benefit by getting pollinated as the bee transfers pollen from flower to flower as it travels. So to show this, I have a positive for species 1, the bee, and a positive for species 2, the flower. The next one is commensalism. Commensalism is when one organism benefits and the other is unaffected. An example of this would be the sea anemone and the clownfish. The clownfish benefits because it is resistant to and lives in the stinging tentacles of the sea anemone, which protects it from predators. But the sea anemone is neither benefited nor harmed by the presence of the clownfish. So, we have a positive here for the clownfish and a 0 or N for neutral for the sea anemone. And the last type of symbiotic relationship is parasitism. And parasitism is when one organism benefits and the other is harmed. An example of this is a dog and a flea. The flea benefits by living and feeding on blood from the dog, but the dog is harmed by the bites and possible infection caused by the flea bites. So here, the flea benefits and the dog is harmed. The second type of ecological relationship we're going to talk about is the predator-prey relationship. Predators eat prey. This is similar to, but different from, parasitism. This is not usually considered a symbiotic relationship, which makes it different from parasitism, where one benefits and the other is harmed. In this relationship, one organism eats the other for energy and nutrients. Predator-prey relationships affect the populations of both species. This graph shows how the populations of predator and prey species changes over time. As you can see, when prey is abundant, the population of predators increases. So when we have high prey, this predator line starts to increase. When there are too many predators, the prey population decreases. Without enough prey, the predator population decreases as well. Without many predators, again, the prey population increases and the cycle continues. The last type of ecological relationship we are going to discuss is competition. Competition occurs when organisms fight for the same limited resources. Organisms will compete for resources like food, water, sunlight, and mates, because these resources are limited. If the resource is not limited, there will not be competition. There are 2 different types of competition: interspecific and intraspecific. Interspecific competition is between members of different species. For example, between lions, zebras, giraffes, and elephants for water in the savanna. The water is a limited resource they all need, so they compete for it. Since they are all different members of different species competing, it is called interspecific competition. Intraspecific competition is between members of the same species. For example, mates. In many bird species, males compete for the ability to mate with the females. They have a specific mating ritual to woo the female. In other species like lions and deer, the males fight to show their strength to win the ability to mate with the female. Since this is members of the same species competing, it is intraspecific competition. Again, organisms only compete for resources when those resources are scarce. So that brings me to the last topic for this video: limiting factors, carrying capacity, and population growth. A limiting factor is an environmental factor that prevents a population from reaching its full potential of size or activity. If organisms have enough of all the resources they need to survive, the population will grow exponentially. However, a limiting factor is the one factor, the one biotic or abiotic factor that stops a population from continuing to grow. For example, water in a drought. If there's not enough water for all of the organisms in an ecosystem, they will compete for the resource. Only the ones best adapted to obtaining that resource will survive, and the population will stop growing. If a population has reached this size, the largest size with the amount of water available, we call this number of individuals the carrying capacity. Carrying capacity is the largest population, number of individuals, the environment can support, usually designated by the letter K. When the population reaches the carrying capacity of the environment, limiting factors cause the extra organisms to die off or leave. Either they die or they have to find a new place to live that does have all the resources necessary. And last, for a population to grow, it must be below its carrying capacity, and the birth rate, number of babies being born, must be greater than the death rate, the number of individuals dying. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.